thank the member for Kiama. I call the member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. I rise to speak on the petition requesting an increase in the maximum sentence for concealing child sex offences. Labor is pleased to support this amendment because we feel the pain of child sex abuse survivors, and we want to work in a bipartisan way on such an important issue with the government. Pastor Bob Cotton of the Maitland Christian Church in my electorate began collecting signatures for the petition in Maitland in late July this year, with 13,000 signatures presented to this place on the 16th of October. In less than 12 weeks, the petition tapped the public's deep sentiment on this issue and called for the existing maximum sentence to be increased. The petition in fact calls for two actions. Firstly, to increase the maximum penalty for concealing child sex offences from 2 years imprisonment to no less than 5 years imprisonment. And secondly, to apply the increase in penalty to those who continue to conceal information that may aid in the conviction of a child sex offender, even if the information was gained prior to the increase in sentence. The petition argues that the current maximum sentence of only 2 years has never acted as a deterrent under Section 316 of the Crimes Act and will not act as a deterrent under the recent crime legislation amendment Child Sex Abuse Bill of 2018. And therefore, the petition proposes that the penalty for concealing child sex offenders be elevated to a serious offence, acting as a deterrent, reflecting the criminality of the action and the expectations of the community in sentencing. And I think this is really important because we hear in this place so much of people's commitment to stopping child sexual abuse, but it is time to take action. And I would urge the government to look as well into bystander interventions that are available. The sad thing about this legislation and this call that the government, and I congratulate them for putting the legislation to this place, but is that by the time that we get to this stage, the offence has happened. We need to do more so that bystanders, those who witness, those who are aware of child sexual abuse, have much more support to make those complaints. And we've heard some very cogent arguments recently in the media, but even in the Hunter from the Anglican Archbishop up there, who spoke of the pressure that he felt as both a survivor and a minister of the church. We need to support survivors at every step of the way. And I have to thank so much the child sexual abuse survivors who have stood up and advocated for this reform. With Pastor Bob Cotton, the Shadow Attorney General and member for Liverpool, the Honourable Paul Lynch, and I have previously met with Bob Cotton, Pastor Cotton, and Glenn Colomites and also Paul Gray to discuss these issues, and I thank them for their advocacy on these issues. And I know that Peter Gogarty has also had an active role in this place, and I acknowledge you in the gallery, the survivors that are here today. You have all shown immense courage to recover from the hurt that has been done to you and to show the leadership to be able to advocate to government and both sides of this House in such a way that this legislation would be amended, and that is such an important thing to do. In politics, often if we put up legislation just by the virtue of us being opposition, we cannot effect the change, and that's why I'm pleased that the government has taken this initiative, and that's why we're pleased to support them in that. The Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse starkly documents the terrible ground zero that has been in my backyard in the Hunter Valley with some of the worst recorded offending in New South Wales. I pay tribute to Joanne McCarthy, the journalist there with the Newcastle Herald and finalist for New South Wales Australian of the Year, who shone the light, who advocated so strongly for the Royal Commission by Julia Gillard, and that has brought so much out. And I want to close by saying that this is a moving thing, the Institutional Responses Commission, because the Royal Commission has had its recommendations, the implementation is happening, and there will need to be ongoing reviews of how that actually works in practice. This is not something that we can ever say done and dusted and sweep under the carpet. We need to continue to work and be vigilant forever. It's not enough to just say we're done today. We need to be always ever watchful to stop abuse of children and the most vulnerable people in our community, and I thank you.
I thank the member for Maitland. I call